things I do for this bloody YouTube channel, honestly. Welcome back to Hotchkiss Performance. Today is another detailing shootout between a leather and a drying towel. So we'll compare both in this video, but first I'll put the kettle on. Cheers. Okay, so we'll start with the leather. Now there are a few pros with using these, if you can believe it. They are quite an old school product. You know, I think a lot of people used to use these when drying the cars. It's just that in years that have passed, you know, companies have developed better products for drying your vehicle. But nonetheless, people still use these, you know, and people swear by them. So it's only fair to give them a mention in this video, as it is a detailing shootout. So, a pro with this product is it's cheap. You know, if you look at our other video that we did on the sponge versus a washmate video, if you haven't watched that already, I will leave a link in the description below. You know, they're cheap, just like a sponge. You can pick these up in a lot of places, particularly cheap. So that is, you know, they are just, because of that, they are disposable. You know, if you drop it on the floor, no big deal. Another point to make is they don't snag on car badges, you know, or anything like that, because they've got no fibre to kind of snag or pull on anything. So they will kind of pass across the badges of the vehicle. They are quite a small product, as you can see, probably the size of a microfiber cloth. So easier to get into, like, you know, your door shuts and alloy wheels and things like that. Much easier to work with, I'd say, than, you know, the bigger drying towels that again we'll cover in just a second. That pretty much covers all the pros, in my opinion. So now we do have to look at the negative side to this particular product, and that is safety on your clear coat. Because it has no kind of fibres, if there's any grit picked up or contamination while you're drying your vehicle, and yeah, you can say that, well, if you've cleaned your vehicle properly, then there should be no dirt or grit left on the surface, but you can never 100% guarantee that anything might land on it, any airborne contamination or anything like that. So it's better to, you know, assume that there could be a piece of grit on that surface. And with this, because there's no way for the piece of grit to actually go into the leather, it's just going to roll about on the surface, basically between your clear coat and this, and you're just going to be rubbing it like an abrasive onto that clear coat. So it is going to mark if there is any dirt on that surface. So really not the safest option using a leather. They don't hold that much water, so as you're working, you know, your panels, drying your vehicle, you will have to wring this out quite a number of times to, you know, especially on a larger vehicle. Even on your smaller vehicles, you are going to need to wring this out as you go. Now that's not a particularly bad thing, I don't suppose, but you know, you want to get it done as fast as you can, really. So not the easiest thing to use when drying your vehicle. Personally, I would never recommend these, and I don't think I'd ever use it on my vehicle. But you know, I'm not taking anything away from them that use them and swear by them, but for now we'll move on. Okay, moving on to the drying towel. So we'll start with the pros, as always. The safest option, in my opinion, is this kind of material with a drying towel. This is kind of split microfiber, and it's really dense, really plush. So as you're drying your vehicle, any contamination or grit that might be on the surface will go into the drying towel, because it's quite a high pile height. It's quite large as well, so you can dry quite a large proportion of the vehicle as you go, which, with it being this large and that dense, it does hold a lot of water. Now, when I'm usually drying a vehicle with this, I'll not need to wring it out, and to be honest, they're very difficult to wring out a towel like this. If you do have to, you tend to have to kind of do it in sections at a time, rather than with the leather. You can just do it in one twist, because it's so small, so you'll be able to twist it up tightly to get the excess water out. But with this, it's much larger, so to try to twist the whole thing, it is gonna, you know, be quite a task. So you can wring them out, but you don't really need to, unless you've got 3 cars lined up and you plan to dry them all one after another. So obviously it's safe, it holds loads of water, but just like with the leather, there are some negatives to this product. It is quite difficult to work with, because it being so large. With this one, the best used like to pat dry, so you'd lay this on your vehicle and you just gently pat it dry to suck the water into the drying towel. Now the only trouble with that is, that's great on flat panels, but on your vertical panels it can be quite a challenge to hold it against the vehicle while you're trying to pat it. You know, if the wind's getting under it or anything, it can blow it around quite a bit. They are difficult to handle, and you know, trying to dry your door shuts with these, not really very practical to use, I would say. But that's why you can also get kind of mini drying towels, which, you know, as you can see, that's much smaller, so you can get into your, you know, your door shuts and your wheels, and it's good to have a separate one. I wouldn't particularly use just one drying towel to dry the vehicle and the door shuts. We also have these kinds, which are much larger than the one I've just showed you, as you can see. So much larger, and these are designed to be placed on the surface of the vehicle and kind of pulled across the surface. You know, you don't have to put any pressure on, you kind of let the weight of just the towel place it onto the vehicle and drag it. These are better to be used to drag dry your vehicle rather than patting dry, because with this one, this is actually a twisted pile where the microfiber is basically twisted really tightly, so each fibre is very dense, which, so again, it will absorb probably just as much water as the really plush kind of split dense ones, and with it being again so large, it will absorb a lot of water. Again, a bit more difficult to wring out, so you have to do it kind of bit by bit, but as same with the other one, unless you're drying 3-4 cars straight after another, you won't really need to wring it out, so you'll be able to dry a car with just one, hang it up just to air dry. Should have no worries there. Okay, that is pretty much it. I have run through the pros and cons of each. Obviously, again, it is all down to preference. I'm not saying, you know, you've got to use one over the other. I prefer to use the drying towels. Some people see no harm at all in using leathers. In my opinion, leather is quite an old school product to use. You know, detailing has grown massively, and I just think that these companies and manufacturers have put so much kind of thought and time into developing a product to make it much better to use, much safer for your vehicle. And part of me thinks, well, would they bother creating these other products like drying towels if the leather was perfect for the job? In my opinion, I don't think they would, because it's a waste of their resources and time and effort. So, you know, it's down to you what you particularly think. Let me know in the comments what you do use. You know, some of you might still use a leather, swear by it, and think, oh, this drying towel is just a gimmick, basically. Like, there is a lot of things in detailing that people think are gimmicks, but that's to be covered in another video. So as always, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll also place other videos here that you can watch that we've covered on the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. Cheers.